Yeah, I'm in bed.
So I bet you're all wondering why I've summoned you here today. Wait a minute, Michelle, why do you have a Hey, Charlie.
Please send all emergencies to Finn. We are in the Carmel room.
Hey, Charlie. Thank you.
Life story.
Is that what they call it these days?
Okay, that's why we can't get
Yes, it is. When you are stuck in an elevator, they refer to it as being stuck in an elevator.
If you're trying to take the elevators up, there is a second set of elevators over by the escalators next to the autograph room. They go up to 17. Take those. There's no one's using them. They go really fast.
Yep. Back house elevator. It's just the 14th.
Okay.
Oh, it's a 14th? Oh, thank you for the correction. I've been telling you about 17
Oh,
minutes.
no.
Little shitty contract.
It's only 3 flights of stairs. It won't kill them, right? 5 if you want to get some.
Hello.
We'll check the bodies later.
That's
Pardon me, what? Hi.
Hi.
My name is Charlie Worthley. I'm the convention chair for Ponyville Cider Fest this year.
I am Michelle Worthley. I am the vice convention chair for Ponyville Cider Fest this year.
And
And we have been chairing this convention years without any of you. So.
Wow. Thanks. Appreciate you.
To answer the inevitable question,
Yeah, right. Great.
Oh, that's more about you. Yes, no, I'm drinking Imperial Pumpkin Ale, aged in Jamaican rum barrels from Dangerous Man up in This is actually given to me by Sweet Cream, who does a lot of our staff art. Not given to me, she picked it up for me. I paid her back for it, but given to me by she picked it up from Dangerous Man, a really cool brewing that's up in MSP, which is I'm sad, but maybe one day. But yeah. Anyways, I'm gonna stop battling my
And in
beer.
case you were wondering, I know this is really important. I'm drinking.
Oh,
You can
wow.
also see on my badge that I would definitely be drinking for his life. Baja Griffin made this for me.
Yeah.
Water.
Apple blackberry.
Nice.
No, it's not even Milwaukee anymore.
How's
Good point.
and please no like token cheer here. This is a genuine question. How is the condon so far for everyone? That's really good to hear. It's been I mean to call it interesting is the nicest word I think we could use. Just getting and everything, trying to figure out what works best in what rooms and how to fit our existing framework and the way we do things into these new spaces. It's been interesting.
And then taking like a 2-year break. It's like honestly, we all forgot how to con. Like. This morning we were on. It kind of feels like our first one all over again. Yeah.
So for anybody who hasn't been one of these con chair chat panels that I did before, it's sort of an open forum. I don't really have like an itinerary to talk about or things. It usually ends up turning into a conversation about people ask like anything that you've ever wanted to ask somebody that runs conventions, like how does this work? Like why is this done this way? We will answer those questions as best we can, like any NDAs, contracts or whatever. Gets paid. I can't tell you that. But just like operationalize it this way. Like talk about that stuff. Anything else you want to ask us, we can talk about it. It'll just turn into a conversation for an hour. While I enjoy the fact that I'm sitting down for an hour.
Sitting feels really good.
Yeah.
This is really exciting opportunity. We literally put this contract chat in just so we're guaranteed to get 1 hour to sit for the weekend. It's really lovely.
And enjoy a nice cold beverage. But yes. So.
Questions? I think Andy.
Just a quick one, unrelated to con sharing or conventions. That is an awesome sweater, Charlie. Was that custom made?
No, I've seen a couple other people with the same one. It was from We Love Fine, back when they were making a whole bunch of like pony. I think We Love Fine turned into a different brand now or something like that. Yes, that's right.
Do they still do pony, or do they get out of that?
Certainly not as much as they used to. So yeah, I don't know if this is still available.
I'm pretty sure I once.
I don't. I think I passed. But
That was an easy one.
yeah.
Yeah, go ahead.
Has everything gone pretty smoothly so far?
Oh,
for this
no.
con, or?
But I'm glad that you don't know the answer to that. So it was a difficult pre-con with everything. Just it's a lot of additional layers with like the health and safety policies that we had to work through, and the hotel. Everybody knows like the staffing situation that the world's in, so the hotel's also very understaffed, and we like usually we have like a designated person that's kind of our person through the whole planning process, and that person has been changing a lot, and the person that we're working with now is amazing, but is very new, and so a lot of things had to wait until the very last minute until we could get somebody assigned to us to no fault of the hotel. They have been amazing. And then the new space, and we have a lot of new staff, and we're very low staffed as well. So it has been a tricky situation. We are getting through it, and you guys have been amazing, and everyone is so and fabulous. You're making it easier on us.
It's funny. Our hotel rep, his name is Joel, and when we met him in person for the first time, we were just kind of like doing introductions and like quick like resumes. Just we kind of had a bearing on each other. He's like, oh yeah, I used to work out at the Hillmore Browning Complex.
We were all like, oh, thank God.
So you know what's coming. You're just like, I know what's coming.
Yeah. That's always the station with a new hotel. It's always like, oh yeah, what kind of a convention is it? Like My Little Pony convention. Oh, is it really for kids? Like, and then you have to explain them, and you have to like go through the whole thing. It's like a process. So it was really nice for him to just be like, no, I'm a brony, and you're like, oh, bless you.
Well, he gets bronies, I guess.
Yeah. Yes, for sure. Purple shirt? You?
Purple shirt? Purple tux. Yeah, nice. Any weird or funny convention stories from staffing conventions in the past?
I mean, God, there's so many.
It's so funny. We always say this. We have so many. Like when we're all sitting around at night, like drinking at like 1 a.m. Like, oh, everybody, the panel rooms are finally closed. Like we can finally relax. All we do is tell stupid convention stories, and then inevitably on this panel, somebody asks us, and then our minds go blank. We're like, what?
I will let that simmer, and I will try and think of one as we're talking here. But yeah, so many hard to pick. Yes.
So the theme has been like really obvious. The cosplay theme has been really huge and obvious. So I'm kind of curious how that strong of a theme comes about. Like, what's the process to getting that done, and then what's the push to make it happen?
Yeah. So sort of back in I think it was after Saturday 2017. I sort of made a shot light on different parts of the fandom, and so we started that with 2018 with the musician, the festival of music and all that, and so much work, and it was so much more complicated, and like I mean it was just so much more than we expected it was going to be.
What he's trying to tell you is that all of us and every single member of our management staff at one point tried to quit that con. And by the end of the weekend, we were all like, we're never doing cons again.
Yeah.
It was also tricky because that was the year we added MSP. So usually we do 2 cons, 6 months to plan one, and then 6 months to plan the other.
Yeah. F was in.
Yes.
No. 18 was High Roller.
Oh, it was High Roller, right. Yeah, there was definitely a that cut me.
So the question. So yeah, I basically decided that I kind of wanted to like the fandom like have it. So we did the musicians, and then that was really hard. So okay, we're gonna kind of take a year off. And I mean, I love that. That's probably gonna be my favorite Cider Fest forever. Like that con for me, and I've heard 18 for them was like the best one. And
Lux in here, Lux like it was my con.
I mean, so worth every literal drop years, but year we did the holiday theme, and not as much. It was more of just a basic con, just with like, around it, I guess you could say. And then, so then it turned into like, okay, let's do one on, one off in terms of the. So then cosplay turned into the next one that I wanted to do, and it's gone like a lot of. I was up in the cosplay contest earlier, and it seemed like that was going really, really well.
Yeah.
So yeah, and I hope to continue. I hope that idea of continuing, the for visual things. So it's like I want to do it. I just need to figure out. But yeah, it's I want to make sure everyone gets their turn. To your question.
Doug, you got numbers right. But this year it seems a lot more people than in previous years. Can you confirm that, or has it been like the same?
I think it's because like with like just the way that the height was laid out, it was like a base where everything was kind of cool. So ask for hotel, but just like it doesn't have that, people is going to seem like more people in this space than over there. So to answer your question, we don't have a solid number on attendance yet. I will say it's going to be lower than 2019, and a lot of that is because our AtsCon right Saturday, for example, I think just because of people do like the last minute trips that they used to be able to do.
We also have a lot less kids because kids can't. It's not quite as safe to bring them. So, like usually we have tons of kids in our kids room, and I think we have like 3 or 4 this year. So say we expected, with just everything going on and not even knowing if we were going to be able to have a convention halfway through the summer, we expected the numbers to be much lower than they are. So the fandom really like showed up for us.
I can say I think it's 19, but I don't have an exact number yet.
All right.
Sure.
Another question?
Just generally, what has been some of the about this hotel as compared to how it was
Is just amazing in every aspect of the hotel. So the people that we work with really want to have it. From like this to just like even like the staff that's like changing the rooms, they are just so happy, so excited to have us here, so welcoming and there's more small because the in space in total for us to have things like main events is bigger. We in 2019 we felt like we had almost outgrown that main event space bigger, so that was nice for us. They just a lot of stuff that we have to deal with, direct things and food and beverage and honor and all these things, like they're just the nicest people, kind to your hotel guest, and they make a little poem about like the makeup off and stuff. So the most kind you can be to them. Keep your rooms clean because we want to be welcomed back here because they are people to work with.
Did you ever the contest?
No.
Makeup? No.
Ah.
Oh, did they not?
I did, but I'm really confused by what it was.
Okay, so if you don't have one, go downstairs and make sure you let them know you want to be in the clean room, that you're part of the con and you want to be in the clean room contest. So come through to clean up Sunday and Monday. Like, pay attention to who has the cleanest room. For sure, they said like if you could like put all of your garbage in one area, put all your towels in one area. So if you have a really write your name down and put you in a raffle, and then those people will get pulled out, and you'll get like a free weekend stay to come back. So
For next year,
stay or 2 nights.
I think it's just your stay for the con next year.
Oh yeah, your stay. So which is really really nice and like a big money savings, and they just did that on their own, which is really sweet of them. So.
Cool. Question based on that, if that's okay. Do we have to like strip the beds and stuff too?
No.
No, we don't know the details.
Like the little thingy like having like your garbage and your towels like collated into a single space. But and ask for the sheet, and they can give it to you. Just real quick, if anyone wants to sit. Yes. Oh, you guys are so good. Thank you. Purple hat.
Something like 260 the number, and we still continue to never have enough. And so I've like bumped it way up for next year. So and then the Sunday is always a little bit lower. The Sunday is like 150 or something like that. But because not a lot of people go on Sunday. But yeah, no, it was 260 rooms, and then they ended up adding some on top of that for us. So it was 260 rooms in the public block, and then there's like 60 rooms at like the hotel books, like for our staff and our guests and so on and so forth. So
and the hotel is very full this weekend. They have like 2 weddings and a scrapbooking convention, and then there's like another religion convention that's in town where a lot of the people are staying here. So yeah, they are very, very full this weekend. So it was really nice of them to try and find some extra rooms.
The room prices was there very much a supply and demand situation.
Yes,
at that point.
for sure.
Not that full.
Yeah.
Yeah, they're normally not that much, but yeah, a lot of stuff going on this week.
Yeah.
All the conventions are back.
We actually had a wedding that was like, we really need a place to get our like do our hair and makeup, and they told us you have all of the rooms booked. Do you have like an empty room where we can like do our hair and makeup? And we were like, we can find one for you. Come on in. There's gonna be a lot of people dressed like ponies around me.
You're going to have a lot of questions. But yes, we have a room.
For how you're COVID, and I wanted to communicate more specifically, like to talk to.
So to be COVID specific, just generally speaking, like, are you okay with hugs, yellow, just like are you just like okay, I guess.
People know that not have their personal space, and you know, everybody is good with time.
So the thing with the badge tags, and and this is me, like, I'm convinced badge tag is the best solution because your bag just flips around. And
yeah, and some people keep it on their hip and stuff. This is a funny question because this was like a large group in the corner is our health and safety head of department, and he and
please give our counter run.
Oh my God. We could not have done the convention without him, and knowing that he not built those amazing stanchions that I think have led to some of the best photographs I've ever seen, because usually they don't want to touch anyways, and now like with the fist bumping through, I've seen like hip bumps and stuff. It is some of the cutest pictures I've ever seen. Everybody's using those screens very interactively and creatively, yes. So we went around a lot of ways, like badge ribbons, pins. We talked about bracelets. We talked about we ended up going with buttons because we felt like people could put it wherever they wanted on whatever they were wearing to make it like most focal versus like a badge ribbon where it could be like hidden or turned around or whatever.
So would you say, I'm just curious because you brought up the question, would you, so once COVID is with, hopefully that happens soon. Would you say that would you think the buttons could take the place of the badge ribbons once we make it clear, like, okay, this is now a social a social signal
Versus badges, I just wanted to be able to communicate. Like, I would like to have conversations with new people, and at BronyCon that was great. I just walked around and looked for green, and I would just like start a conversation. And,
yeah.
I love that aspect of the job.
Okay, but you like so for that purpose,
yeah,
buttons
the
were fine.
Versus the physicalities is not too important. Just the
Okay.
messaging.
Yeah. I love the BronyCon badge ribbons. It's just like so many times, like I had one on me, my badge was flipped over, so nobody could see it. And it's like, oh, maybe there's a better way to go about this. But yeah, okay, good feedback. Thank you. Yes.
done to kind of unique or different, or what is how do you even approach it with your own cons?
I mean, like, so Chicago themed. I don't know. It has like a Chicago thing is too. Every different hotel has such a different feeling. It makes the con feel different, like on its own, honestly. Because like a lot of the conventions have very similar programming and a similar situation with like guests of honor and everything. But when you go to Everfree, like the hotel is so different that you just like get a different feeling the second you walk in. Even here, the con feels different. Cider Fest feels different to me here than Cider Fest did at the previous hotel, honestly. You know what I mean? So that the hotel kind of brands the con on its own, and then is so much its own thing because it's just so like it's such a Chicago.
Yeah, we also don't do such strong themes like the cosplay music thing where they say like that.
Yeah.
That's just more of just like we do just like the skinning themes, like I call them. Like we come up with like a theme that the purpose of coming up with themes for us is basically like let's have new outfits and have make some new art for them, and we have something to kind of theme like panels and things around and things like that. But that's pretty much as far as it goes. Like it's like an art direction and like a programming. Like if you can't fit it in this box, cool. Like and then we can kind of like have it be a little bit different each year. But yeah, so take the big themes farther.
Cider Fest also kind of like Cider Fest is what Cider Fest like it has been for so long. Like you come for the cider and it's end of the year, so it's kind of like everybody's like end of year wrap up together, and it's like a little bit of like partying, but not like drop con partying. Like the pro day.
Trap gun and hydro on the screen.
we love trap gun.
Yeah, Trot's a good time, but Trot definitely is its own thing.
Yeah,
and,
yeah, it's a party cat for sure. Yeah.
Have you guys ever considered operating a third con full time?
No. Charlie considers operating a lot of things, and the answer is no.
I like being alive. MSP. Okay. Let me be very clear. I am so glad that we did MSPF. It was a great weekend. I feel like the Minnesota Brody community, especially at that time, was so active, and I feel like I don't know. I feel like in general they were sort of they needed the closure of that con, like for it to not come back, for it to be announced after MLP MSP3 that it was the last one. I just feel like the community there really appreciated and kind of needed that closure there. So I'm very glad that we did that for them. But doing 3 cons in a year, while trying to like maintain full-time jobs is just it was just too much. Like that was rough. So
yes, it's too many hours. You just can't do it. Charlie literally had to work all day at his regular job, and then he just never slept. Like he would just work overnights to try and. So it's just not a healthy situation.
Yes, because I'm the PR director for these things too. So like the website, like Michelle makes the con books, and so like we do more than just chair like a lot of other cons do. They're smart enough to find other people to do the stuff for them. I have not done that yet.
Yeah.
And so it's just like all the stuff with the website and just like the
like the con book is a pain, and then I'm guest acquisitions manager, so I'm working with the agents constantly while we're trying to just regular chair con, which is for not like hiring other people. Like we're not, it's definitely our own fault. But yeah, it's a lot.
It's so much, and even though like a lot of people like said like, oh, it was nice to take the last year off. No, we didn't take last year off. Those online cons were, I mean, like it's like okay, with the online cons, it's like okay, cool. You take out all the hotel stuff, but then I replace it with shipping after the con was over, and I mean the package mail and kind of shipping, just to be very clear. So much fanfic. No, it's like the bones of like putting together an online con, at least the way that we did it. We didn't want to just be like a throwaway thing. Like it's like we said, okay, if we're gonna do an online Winnie City, an online Cider Fest, we wanted to feel as much and be as close to what we usually do as possible, because otherwise kind of what's the point, I guess? And so we put all that same amount of effort into like the musicians and the programming, just the yada yada yada, and the website and all that. And so yeah, it's like okay, we don't have to deal with the hotel stuff, we don't have to deal with like travel logistics and stuff like that. But then there's like honestly just like the box up and everything.
And then also in between, just the way hotel contracts work, it's not like, oh, you know, there's a feeling that with the way the pandemic is, it's not going to happen. Like until the drop dead date where the government comes in and says like, okay, you have to keep working towards the idea that you're going to have a convention, even though no, you're probably not, because you know you're going to have it unless you know there's like these clauses that it's like unless like the weather or God like interfere or the government like interfere, like you keep going. So you know even though we kind of knew we had to keep moving, so you're kind of planning for something that you don't know it's going to happen, but if it does happen, you can't not have it planned, and then all of a sudden it's like, okay, it's not going to happen. Now switch gears and do online, and then start planning for the next one because that could happen. Oh, it's not going to happen. So it was just a lot of, it was just a lot.
Yeah. Well, the legal term for what Michelle's describing is force majeure, which if you've ever dealt with a contract like this, you may be familiar with. I think I'm pronouncing it correctly. But it basically says like, in the event where you literally cannot have this happen because of, like, I think
government.
And I think the word pandemic has now become a part of force
Yeah.
majeure clauses, which it wasn't before, so that actually caused a problem for some conventions, from what I hear. But yeah. So it's you just have to keep assuming it's going to happen until like you can say legally I cannot, and then that it has to become a whole different thing. I think one of my most poorly aged tweets is when I said back in like April of 2020, "There's no way this is going to affect cider."
That's bringing down a curse on your house.
Yeah, that was a mistake.
Yeah, but the hotel was really kind through the whole thing. Not every convention got as lucky as we did with their hotels, and they were, you know, really, really nice and kind to us and allow us to kind of roll things over and which allowed us to be able to throw this, because had we had to, you know, kind of fulfill obligations without having a convention, it would have been a completely different story. So, both of our hotels have been very sweet through the whole thing because they're also going through a difficult time. So
Yeah, for sure.
yeah.
Questions? Anybody? Yes, Chris.
I like how you have busy kind of travel between the two conventions. I know you made our, but you're still having some stuff going online still, right?
The online stuff for this con?
Yeah.
Yeah. So
I hope that continues. It's kind of a way to include everybody.
Yeah, it was sort of a trial this year, just because I know we're in that transitory period. Okay, so if you had asked me, like in 2017, like, why don't you stream? You know, there would have been a conversation that I would have had with, like, you know, the other directors, people running the con. Just like, if we stream the con, do we run the risk of people not coming? Because then they can just watch it online. Like, the last thing I want to do is, like, you know, kneecap badge sales by saying, like, okay, we're going to come, and then just have so many people like, oh, cool, I don't need to go. And I think this is like the perfect year to test out whether or not that's a thing or not, which I wasn't sure if it was. It was just something that we had to discuss. Because this year, I think everybody pretty much cleanly falls into like two categories. It's like I don't care what's happening in the world. I miss conventions, and I am going to go no matter what. I don't care if you're streaming it. I miss my friends.
Yes.
And then there's and thank you. And then there's the people that are just like, you know, who fall into the other bucket of just like,
I care, but I'm able to like manage it in a safe and like intellectual way. Is maybe a better way to put it.
Thank you, Michelle.
I'll do what I need to.
Well, more what it was, I don't care if you're streaming it, is where I was going with that. Yes. It's like, no, I just, you know, people just really miss being at in-person conventions versus everyone else who's like, you know, unsure about their work, unsure about so many things. And so this felt like a good time to try it out and just see how it goes. Because we also have to contend with the hotel Wi-Fi infrastructure, because hotel Wi-Fi is always so great, right? Everywhere, every time.
We actually came up Tuesday night and Wednesday I was still trying to work, and so I'm like trying to like do Zoom calls, and I was like, this isn't good. Like it's just like my face like this on every call that I'm on. So yeah, it was lovely.
Actually, yes. So for those who just may not have known, like we're attempting to stream pretty much everything we can in main events in the 3 panel halls, including like right now. That camera right now, I believe, is live streaming this
Oh,
panel.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, and so I'm just actually popping over to the Carnival questions stream just to see if anyone is saying yes, and that's okay.
We appreciate your efforts.
Just in case anyone's watching, the Carmel Questions Discord channel, I'm now looking at that. So if you have any questions, if you're watching online, hello, I will. But yeah.
That's funny. Nolan.
Scariest convention story you can talk about.
Wasn't our con, but I think the last one.
It's funny because Matt's right there.
Finn, our security chief, is over there doing security things, I think. But man, so I think there's two that so I have two answers for this. One from our con is when we lost power in main events at Cider Fest. I think it was 2015 or 16.
Woo!
That was. I feel like that was my first time being vice chair, so that would have made it 2015. And like the main event's power, right before the concert. At that time, we were only doing the concert on Saturday. Just like it blew out and just like it would not come back on. And bless the shakeups, like they like put on like an acoustic concert out in the lobby and like kept people entertained, and they were phenomenal. And then
you guys don't know this, but it was actually Charlie's fault because it was his first time vice chairing.
It's true.
And he like posted in like our con chat where we like manage business with all of our employees, and he posted in like the general con chat like, "Hey guys, everything's going so great. This is amazing." And then you're not, and so it's like a con rule, like you don't say that. Like people ask you how it's going, you never say like it's fabulous, because then something falls apart. And so Charlie was like, "Everything's going great," and then everybody was like, "No!" And then like main events literally lost power, and they had to bring an electrician in to fix it like the next day. So I don't know. For me, I think it was
It was actually, I don't know if anybody knows Sleepy Pony, who I know is greatly involved in like the Ponyville FM, I think it is. Am I right on that?
Yes.
Yes.
Right, he runs it.
That's what I thought, yes. Yeah, Sleepy was actually there, and I guess he has like electronic engineering background or something. It's been so many years, I'm probably getting details wrong, but he was actually instrumental in helping us get our power back, so thank you, Sleepy. But yeah.
I think for me it was the threat that we had to deal with at Winnie City was probably one of the scarier things.
That was fun.
When you're trying to evacuate people and you don't know if it's real or not, and you're running into rooms to get people out because it's your job, but you're not sure what's going to happen or what you're going to find in that room. Like it was just a difficult. It was scary.
Does anybody not know what we're talking about? So
I don't want to say we had a threat at Winnie City
17.
Yeah, we had it kind of escalated. It started as a threat that maybe there was like a person on property who had something that could cause damage to the hotel, and then it escalated into like a full-on like somebody had put things in the hotel that was going to cause some serious damage, and we had to evacuate everybody. And it was like evacuate now, and then the police are on their way. So it was the con staff that was sort of running into the concert and removing everybody, and we stayed in to be the last ones out, but like not knowing what was going to happen, that was a really scary feeling for a lot of us. I think it was difficult because you just didn't know. So you were hoping for the best and hoping it was just somebody who was making a poor life choice, and which is what it ended up being, but you just didn't know. So I think it was like the not knowing was a little bit scary, but our attendees handled that also amazingly. But there are a lot of conventions who've had to deal with a lot scarier things. So
I'll tell you though, of all the things that all the unpleasant things that I think, which is not that many, I make it sound like, but of all the unpleasant things I've had to do, having to like walk into like main events like in like the height of the concert at that kind of, and like having to walk up stage, go like this, and like have them cut the sound and then like stop people like in like the time of their lives and say like, it's over now, and like shut it down was like one of the hardest things I've had to do. That was a little.
I think a lot.
Probably a lot. Yeah.
I can just imagine the stress you guys were under.
It was different. I think everybody. I mean, the attendees. It was different. It was stressful for everybody. The attendees didn't know what was going on, and we just had to move them out. And then everybody came together at the end, though. Once it was safe to return, like literally the whole convention just like chilled in the lobby together, like Saturday night, and had kind of like a kumbaya moment.
Yeah. But yeah. And then just as an aside, the other side answer I have to that question is not our convention, had nothing to do with us. We were there as guests of honor, handlers for the weekend, but Midwest Brony Fest, the last year that happened, I think 2016. Man, that convention was so cursed.
Oh God, Yes.
How so?
That's the one where there were hurricanes that delayed planes.
Tornadoes.
Tornadoes, sorry, yes,
Tornadoes,
not on the coast.
We had our
Tornadoes delaying planes from arriving on time. They were like on our roster, like did not make the convention on Friday at all. They were like posting pictures from like Denver, I think is where they were laid over.
they got
Stuck
stuck
there.
because the tornadoes were hitting, and then the tornadoes hit like next to the convention center. Day, the guest of honor finally came in. We got them in a van, and then the tornadoes came again, and they were literally out running tornadoes down the hall. And it was insane. That convention was insane.
The shipping distribution center where the convention lanyards were in the middle of being in transit literally got struck by lightning and caught on fire.
Yeah, all of the merch like burned up.
Well, the lanyards. I don't know
There
about
was
everything
like
else, but the lanyards.
half the merch. There was no, and then there was like a problem with the hotel, and we all got put in this other hotel, and like our carpet like squished when you stepped on it. And so like that was kind of terrifying from like a perspective, like am I gonna survive? People's beds were like our bed was like slowly absorbing the water, like people had to sleep in bathtubs because like the beds were squishy, like it was a strange situation.
I feel so bad for like the people who
Yes.
Hotels like at last minute.
Yeah, just a lot of different things. It was one of I would never go back just because I'm so triggered.
I don't know what got they pissed off, but they pissed off.
It was a difficult situation for everyone.
That's the St. Louis convention?
Yeah.
Yes.
It was in
Yes.
St. Louis.
Actually, it's Kansas City.
No, it was Kansas City.
It was Kansas City,
You're right.
you are
It was
right.
Kansas City. Yeah.
Just real quick, just for funsies, because I'm gonna you'll be next, but just like Dan, hi Dan.
Hello.
Dan is I'm sorry, I'm gonna do this to you. Dan here, I'm just gonna give him a little bit of credit because he is, to the best of our knowledge, based on the registration records that we have from before I took over, the only person who has been to every single MLP MSP, every single Winnie City, and every single Cider Fest. So hi Dan, thank you Dan.
We have
Statman Dan, follow the Twitter.
We have a lot of staffers in here too. So Arcana, we mentioned before, who's health and safety.
Yeah.
We've got Luckrock, who is the head of our programming division. Nolan, who's in charge of social media for the weekend.
Noteworthy.
Yeah,
just word
Sorry. And then in the doorway is Finn, who is our head of security. So
Royal Guard.
honestly.
Royal Guard.
Thanks for laughing so loud. And then Lou, who's on our photography staff. So there's a lot of staffers in here too. So make sure you guys.
Did I miss anyone? Anybody?
Is there any other
Okay.
staffers? Yeah.
So all the staffers are standing except for Nolan. Got it.
Yeah.
Pay attention.
I would tell you that with like literally every single one of them in the room, we couldn't do it without them. So they don't get like always the credit they deserve. So make sure you guys, thank the staff as you see them and make sure you appreciate them because without them there would be no convention at all. And my favorite thing about Finn, our head of security, is if Finn and I are together and Charlie's not with us, then everyone assumes that that's Charlie and that's my husband. And it literally just happened. We were down we were down. It was you. Yeah, it was your friend. We went down to Miller Time to grab a drink to bring up, and then somebody was just like, "Oh, hi, Conchairs," and I was like, "This is not Charlie." And they were like, and this is my favorite part. I'll say, people do it all the time, like, "Oh, Michelle and Charlie." I'm like, "No, this isn't Charlie." And multiple times people have been like, "Are you sure?" And I'm like, I am sure. And then later they'll see the three of us together because we're typically together. Charlie and Finn have been like best friends since high school, and so we're usually together. And then they'll see us and they'll be like, "Oh, you weren't kidding. That's not Charlie." I know, right? It's really funny.
You literally look like you're looking at the face of somebody who just saw like a clone, just like. It's the Spider-Man meme.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, to be fair, like all like the bearded, like ponytailed, like white craft beard dudes, they all kind of do it. The The difference is that like Finn's always in a kilt and Charlie's in pants. So that's how you know if it's my husband or not. If pants, my husband. If no pants, not my husband.
Somebody please tweet that. Not the com account though.
Like my job?
Those are pants.
We don't talk shorts. I have never wished that I could delete something off the internet as much as I wish I could delete
I
those
just
later
reshared it.
Cool! Thanks!
The world needs you in leader.
It does not.
Just like it needs you and those cute little moose antlers.
Oh, yeah.
yeah.
Those were actually, that was actually like a moose head on the wall that I was standing in front of pretending it was my moose antlers.
When's your next CD coming out?
Oh god.
Here's another funny story. Finn, our head of security, is also on that album. He was also in that band, right? Am I right? You were in the band, right?
Yeah.
What did you sing or what did you do?
Bass.
Yeah, bass and occasional keyboards and whatever else we were doing that we needed a lot of people on stage for.
Yeah.
Go listen to Flame Theory on Spotify. I'd like to get a royalty check for like 25 cents. That'd be amazing.
And when you listen to the music and you're like, God, who hurt you? It was me. That album is about our high school breakup.
It's true.
And also Steak and Shake. Some the really aggressive ones are about Steak and Shake. The rest are about me.
It's on Twitter.
Thank you so much. They're like, what's Steak and Shake? What? Good Lord. Any questions? Yes.
All right, got a couple things. All right, do you still remember the idea I brought up to you yesterday? Did you write it down?
Yeah. It's locked away. Yes.
Okay, and then second, the thought for physics eventually.
Well, actually,
It's funny you should ask that question. You heard about the supply chain issue.
so here's a little. He mainly goes by Waffles, but I think he's vending under Jockey Dreams or something like that. Thank you. He is the go-between that we use for all the other plushies that we have: the caramel barley, the hook fork, the deep dish, the mustard mark, and then all three of the MSP plushies. So really great work, right?
Yeah.
So I approached him over the summer, much later than I should have, to basically say like, what can we do about getting a fizzy plushie? And then I was, the supply chain right now is crap. Like there are ships stuck places and lodged in canals and just like everything's behind. Like factories are like under just yada 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 yada. So there is basically there is like a 1% chance that a fizzy glitch plush will be able to be manufactured and produced in time for this year's Cider Fest. And I said, well, let's get the ball rolling anyways. So at the very least, like if a miracle happens, cool, like great. Otherwise, we'll have it for next year. So after a couple revisions, I apologize, this is on my phone.
Ooh, nice.
But she's on the way. No, this is for them only. This is for you guys only. And yeah, I'm just kind of going through like the pictures one at a time here. This is after a couple revisions. Things were looking good for a minute there. Yeah, and if you guys want to see these afterwards, come on up to me. I'll show you closer. But just for what you can see from there. They don't exist. This is a
Yes, picture.
Yeah.
We've had our
If I had a prototype, yeah, no, she would be here right
I'm
now.
not the first one.
But yeah.
Oh Lord, don't curse that.
Okay, we're running out of time. So next question, I think, Dan, did you have a question?
No.
Oh, okay.
Okay.
Crystal?
Okay, she had 12 minutes though.
I was just gonna comment, I think it's awesome as a couple how you guys function this weekend. I appreciate you guys so much. I know it's sickeningly sweet, but like I really appreciate it.
I could not do this without Michelle, and I mean that. I mean that seriously, and I'm so glad she knows that. Like even before she was doing sex, it's so funny, like zapping.
I call it voluntold.
Yeah.
And brony adjacent. Those are the terms I throw around a lot.
When I first agreed to like staff, like I was just like, okay, I'm gonna go with you just because I don't want to be bored. But I don't want to staff like the fandom is cool, but it's like not my thing. I'm just gonna stay over here, cool, and have fun. And then
yeah, I was really bored. So, yeah, I think I got sucked in because it's guest relations is like a tricky fish when you're staffing because it's everybody is most of our volunteers are fans and that's great, but like when you're dealing with like the actors and stuff, it's better to have people who don't really know who they are because it's just a little bit easier to communicate with them when you're not kind of like awestruck by them. So that's how I got sucked in. They were like, oh, we need someone to kind of like run the like room that we like have for them to keep them like food and stuff like that, and then I think the thing that sucked me in is that when John Delancey came to Cider Fest, they needed a handler, and so they wanted like a real non-brony for that, and also I manage a company, whatever, so they just wanted somebody who, because they knew it would be like, so that's how I kind of got sucked in, was that they asked me if I would help with that, so then I managed John Delancey, and the stories I could tell you.
We can do an entire panel on John Delancey stories.
He's
In a good way.
amazing,
He's
oh
phenomenal.
my god, my
but,
favorite, like one of my favorite guests of all time. But yeah, he kept it interesting. And then I just took over GR after that because like I don't officially manage, like oh you think you're gonna be much better than you can kind of like I win everything. So so then I kind of were, and then with Charlie having a job and trying to do this, it just felt like he needed help. It's like too much for one person, and having a family and focusing elsewhere. So I didn't want him to try and do it by himself. So I jumped in. I take and guest stuff, programming and all.
Programming production.
It's a nice balance. Yeah, it's nice to do it together. When if they're like a person and you're not, it makes it difficult. But since we're house, we can just kind of like sit and con next to each other on the TV. I love a bad ribbon that just says that.
Yeah, Custer.
All right, when this is all done and you get half a minute to breathe before the next con, what's the next Middle Earth you're doing?
Ooh, that is a good question.
So for those who don't know what he's talking about, I have gotten into the hobby and have apparently got hobby as well. They're called metal earth model, not plastic, metal, like models, like stamped into metal where you have the pieces, like bend them and like fold them into shape. You probably know what, but I find them to be very like relaxing out and just like focus on what's in front of my face under a magnifying glass. Relaxing for me. So to answer your question, I have, I think the next one I'm probably gonna do is just helmet head, and then the full size Iconics Boba Fett full figure. I think those are next up in my queue. I kind of sort of like laid out everything in order, just like easiest to hardest, but kind of like keeping things. Those are next up. But
I got 6 of them upstairs in the charity auction.
Yeah, so if you are at all described, one of the items that charity auction is the main 6, like little models of the main 6. They're only like maybe like 2.5, 3. They're so like, if you like doing things with your hands and like working with like little tools and doing things like that, there's going to be the full set of them in the charity auction. And I'd be happy to like give any tips because I've assembled some of them, right? All of them, yeah. So I'm sure both of us would be happy to.
I held one once and I dropped it. I'm allowed to touch them anymore.
But yeah, the most complicated one I've done so far is the International Space Station. That one took me like together. Like
Other questions? Mm-hmm.
So what do you blacklist?
We probably don't want to know.
Yes, if you're on it. No. So
yeah, I would say, what's the P? It's like the F around and find out.
Here's what I'll say.
general, really.
The people this week is it very short because in general people who come to Cider Fest in Winning City are very cool. Yes, it is. But does it exist? Yes, it does.
It does.
Every con that's been around for a couple of years has that list for sure. I would say.
Yes. Area too, kind of give each other like a shared. There's a shared list, so. Yeah.
Questions? Anybody? No? Yes.
I noticed in the sponsor bag that the gift for the economy, you come up with that, and what do you guys do to make it happen?
Well, we have nothing else, you see, because of the supply chain issue.
that gift card was supposed to be the Fizzy Lish plushie. So yeah, so it was that's why it was listed. I think. Oh no, the TBA gift was listed on the perk grid actually turned into these shirts. Is what it turned into. And the gift card was always on there just because. So there's 2 reasons. One, I think I got feedback after we did the online con, and that was like a perk that we did for the online con for the various like sponsor or whatever tiers. That they just like they really liked it. They said this is great. I can just pick out whatever I want. And the second reason is just like I have so much stuff in my garage and I want it out of my garage. So please use your gift card to get it out of my garage. That's the reason.
I pulled the card out of my bag and said, "Oh, this is a gift. Turn this stuff out of Charlie's garage card."
I really should just put that on
Yes.
the card. But yeah.
Please give us our garage back. Winter is coming.
What was it that you said? I'm sorry.
Oh, I help you unload your garage.
Yes, we really appreciate that.
But I have so
Charlie's health and well-being depends on me getting my garage back very, very swiftly here.
I have plushies. So many. Because
Of
they're
course.
big. You can't fit as many of them in a box. So I have so many boxes. They're like 18 inches tall. It was too big. Shouldn't have done that. Anyways.
One last question about the gift cards.
Yeah.
I didn't see value attached.
That's true.
$50.
They're worth $50 of store credit.
Yes. I certainly did not write a number on those when I created them.
It said $50 gift card like on the perk grid, but yes, you're right. I guess in retrospect, it wasn't on like the letter or anything like that to re-emphasize that fact.
All right,
Sorry.
well, I can put that. That's fine. I can put that to use later this evening and tomorrow.
Perfect. And yeah, you can use that for autograph vouchers or like literally anything that the consort sells. And you can also use it if you want to hang on to it for Winnie. It's the same system, so it'll work good for that too.
Okay.
Does it work for the online store too?
Yeah. Well, once I get home and like get everything like resorted and everything, and I start to because I've got to ship out spirit badges and a couple other things. So I'll open the online store just because as long as I'm getting into shipping, I might as well open the online store to do that too. So yeah, we'll definitely.
What fun! What a great time to relax and enjoy our time together after the convention. We'll ship things.
Again, package shipping. Package shipping.
Not even a little as the other card.
Not for you to hear.
Question.
Was those gift cards only for the higher stuff?
It was the top 3 tiers, I want to say. So that would have made it Alicorn, Celestial, and Equestrian, if my brain remembers correctly.
All right.
Yeah, 3 minutes over here on the right.
into during cider tasting event?
To bring
Found a way to do it safely in a pandemic, but unfortunately, our friends at the cider house, they their business did not survive the pandemic, so that made it a little bit more difficult to try and source a new cidery in the time that we had. And then with the pandemic, we just decided it was probably just easier to let that go. And I want to bring that back next year.
Cider share too was pretty fun in 2019.
Yes, for sure.
Yeah, same thing with the bottle share.
Same thing with the bottle share. We felt even more a little weird about that when the pandemic is just like the pouring and the sharing.
Oh my.
Ooh, I think that's also still in my garage. So.
I drank it all.
Oh yeah. Oh, that's true. During the pandemic, we did drink. We drank all the beer. There's like no. And we went into the pandemic keg and like all this beer, and then like, and I was like, where'd all the beer go? And Charlie's like, oh no. I think we drank it, and I was like, no, it was like a whole garage. And then we like went outside, and we were like, oh my god, we did drink it. Purple hat.
You guys ran out of caramel malt plushies pretty quickly this year. Will there be plans to stock more for next year, assuming the supply chain improves?
Please don't make us buy more pledges.
So we've only ever ordered caramel and barley plushies once, and so we had one box, like less than a full box of barley plushies left over this year, and so those were the ones that were up at the con store. We didn't even come with any caramels, so just to be clear on that. And those are just the ones that are left over from, I think it was 2018. That we got those initially. So you have to order a lot of them, and typically the minimum order quantity is 500. If you have a good relationship with the factory, or going through somebody with a good relationship with the factory, like my good friend Wallace, you could possibly do 250 if you were doing time. It will happen because I have 3 of them, and we were able to do 250 each. The problem at this point, a lot of repeat attendees, and so I would say a very good percentage of the people who would want especially the barley ones, lasted several years. I would love to be sitting here and be optimistic and say like, yes, Ciderfest is going to keep on going for many, many years. I might as well just order them. Like, it'll be fine. But like from a business and just like a cost perspective, because also ordering those and getting them shipped over from overseas is very expensive. So it's a hard thing to justify. If I could just order a few just to satisfy demand at every con, I would, but it's a lot more complicated than that. Fizzy is a situation where like everybody wants a Fizzy plushie because Fizzy's amazing and adorable, and it's a new mascot, so that's why we can kind of justify going down that road. But caramel and barley and all the other sort of a different conversation.
We are at time.
Yeah, so I would say just generally speaking, we may do a run of smaller MSP size ones, just so it's something new and different. We'll have to see. No promises on that.
Yeah, so we'll be around. Stop us and say hi. We're usually running, but running places, or people are avoiding us to we're running places. So.
Yeah, but no, we love to answer questions, so don't assume this is the only place you can do it. Okay? Thanks so much. Thanks for watching.
I got this one.
That's all right. Yeah. Okay, everybody.
If you want me to ruin your poster with my